This week we are talking about karma. So what I wanted to talk about, we've all heard this word thrown around. It's almost an English word now. We have our own ways that we use this in the West. And I want to point out a few differences between how we use this word in the West and how this word is more traditionally used in the long ancient practices and philosophies of yoga. So we get the idea that karma is sort of the cause and effect kind of thing. But generally speaking, when we use this word in English, we talk about it in a negative. Oh, well, so-and-so's karma. They deserve it. It's a question of deserving. And I want to make clear that karma, we talk about good karma, bad karma. Those things don't really exist. That is a judgment that we make afterwards. And so karma really is what I would call the fruits of action. We've been talking about that same phrase that we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, and how we shouldn't be attached to the fruits of our actions. We should be attached to the outcome, basically, or the effect that our cause creates. And really that's all that karma is. Every single thought, every single word we speak, and every single action we either do or even not doing is an action, right? All of these actions are seeds, and whatever seed you plant grows the kind of fruit that that seed makes, right? So if we plant runner beans, we don't expect carrots, and when we plant an apple seed, we don't expect an orange tree, right? We just know that that seed makes this kind of fruit. And in the same way, if you were trying to open an orange juice business and you planted a bunch of apple seeds, you would say, well, these aren't good, this is bad karma. But you planted the wrong seed, you know? It's not that that action is good or bad, or that the outcome is good or bad. Again, we're comparing apples and oranges, right? Which one's better? It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to make apple juice, then oranges aren't so great. If you're trying to make orange juice, apples are better, or, oranges are better. So it's not really about a judgment. Karma is not a reward, and it is not a punishment. It is simply the effect of the seeds that we plant with our thoughts, words, and deeds. So if we remove any morality from it and just sit with what it is that's being planted, we can do one of two things. We can have thoughts, words, and deeds just flowing out, and these seeds are just kind of getting sprayed all over the place. Or we can be really, really intentional about what kind of seeds we want to plant. And again, one of these isn't morally better than the other, so to speak. It's not a judgment, and it's not a reward or a punishment. It's just simply being aware and bringing intention to what kind of seeds we want to plant, and maybe where, and how, and whether or not we want to continue that intention and tend to these seeds, or again, whether we just want to kind of live kind of footloose and fancy-free, just letting our thoughts, words, and deeds just kind of plant themselves and just hope for the best. So that's kind of what we're going to try to work with today. We're going to talk about, kind of bringing intention into each thought, word, and deed, and also awareness. So those are really kind of two of the same things. Intention requires you to be aware of what it is you're looking for, where you are right now, where you've been, things like that. And awareness kind of also comes in the past and in the present, whereas intention is sort of dealing with the future. But even as we let our mind or our thinking or our feeling or our awareness move into the past and future, we're still every moment creating seeds and planting them, whether we're aware of it or not. So better to maybe be aware. If you want to have any direction in your life, it's better to be aware. And I want to just bring real quickly in, this is a translation of the Yoga Sutras, different one that I normally choose to read from. And I'm going to change some words to this translation. The first part of it says that the action of a yogi is neither black nor white. And I don't necessarily subscribe to the ideas of black and white magic, or black as being like the evil and white as being the good. So I'm going to kind of shift some words in this, but that the idea is the same. So the action of a yogi is neither good or bad. And that the action of others could be good or bad or good. That each color or each quality of action leaves memory traces corresponding to the fruition of that action. So again, the seeds and the fruits. from the uniformity of memory and subliminal impressions. So these are those samskaras, those patterns that we notice in our lives. Even through the interruptions of birth, place, and time. So these seeds are timeless. No matter when they get planted, they have their beginning, they're all there. These subliminal impressions are without beginning because the desires that sustain them are eternal. So moving towards something is because of a desire or a desire to avoid. Both are desires, and those desires are eternal and unavoidable. And since these samskaras or these patterns are held together by the interdependence, meaning they cannot be separated, of cause and effect, when these cease to exist, the impressions also cease to exist, meaning that when we are without desire, and how do we get to be without desire if that's our natural state? We become without desire when we feel 100% fulfilled. We are without desire when every need that we have, we feel is met. That's when we release our desires, and that's the way to sort of rise above karma. It's not that karma is escapable or avoidable. We can't avoid it. Every seed has its fruit. Every fruit then bears more seeds, etc., etc. It multiplies. But what we can do is be so contented in ourselves, so at peace within ourselves, that each action that we create is with intention. And hopefully that intention is to bring the highest good to ourselves, and then by extension all others as those things multiply. That's a lot. That's a whole lesson on karma. But what we're going to try to do is come into that place of establishment and peace. So find a tall seat and get really rooted in the moment. Get really rooted in your wholeness. Get really rooted in your contentedness with life, that maybe we can try to reach something like that state of desirelessness by recognizing our wholeness, recognizing that unshakable peace within. See if we can move through all the layers that are stuck in the cycle of cause and effect and move into that place of awareness and intention. And just notice your breath flowing. Even our breath is an example of this cause and effect. The action of breath is to push air out. And as we do this, a vacuum is created inside the body. And as we release that pressure of outflow, the inward flow just naturally happens. So the exhale causes the inhale. And then when we bring this breath into the body, we can't just hold it there forever. Eventually, it needs to flow on. So the inhale also creates the exhale. And this is the way of everything. Everything creates something. Everything directs toward something. Every action is a seed. So just kind of notice this natural state of seed planting, these causes that are arising in us just by our very existence. Then let's be a little bit more intentional about this breath. So this is already happening. Causes are happening. Seeds are happening. Now as we inhale, let's open up our body really big. Open the chin up towards the sky. The throat is open. Shoulders are back. Heart is open. Just let a few breaths pass here. Notice how as we intentionally move the body into a place that we might not naturally just find in the body, how this shifts the breath. Still moving, still causes, still seeds. Now let's reverse that chin to chest, back body open, shoulders forward. Again, just notice how we're still breathing, which is our natural state. Seeds are still being planted, but notice how this intentional movement in the body sort of redirects the cause and effect, the seed planting that's happening. Let's take another big inhale here in this chin to chest, and then as we exhale, let's bring heart forward, chin rising. So inhale, look inside yourself, receive into yourself. Exhale, let it flow outward. And as we are intentional about what we breathe in and out, especially these days, we're very intentional about how we breathe in and how we breathe out. Just notice what kinds of seeds are being planted, or how this intentional movement, along with the natural state of karma, of action, changes the way it feels. how it allows us to be aware and intent on what seeds we plant. Come back to a neutral spine and just pause for a moment again and just let that natural flow happen. See if you can feel in your body the sort of repercussions or the habitual movements that we created. See if you can still feel the kind of repercussions or echo of that intention even though we're not active in this moment. This also plays into our karmic cycle, that what we practice regularly, what we bring into our actions habitually, plants way more seeds than what we only occasionally do, right? We maybe all have had that friend who would only smoke cigarettes when everybody was drinking kind of thing. They're less likely to have strong outcomes from smoking than someone who smokes every single day. It's not that one is better or worse than the other. There's judgment on that. It's just seeds and fruits. So from here, let's move into, again, a sort of intentional stance. We're going to come into tabletop shape. And so hands and knees, let's see if we can find that same sense of establishment in the ground with our hands and with our knees. Let's also see if we can come into that intentional lengthening of the spine, even though we're kind of in a different relationship to the floor. So seeds are seeds no matter what direction we plant them. What kind of soil we plant them in, the seeds are still seeds. So from this place, let's find some side bending motion. Let's walk our hands over to one side of the mat, open up one side of your body. And again, we are still just kind of naturally existing, but notice how this intentional shift of maybe perspective and shape of the body redirects that flow of seed and fruit, cause and effect, breath in, breath out. Walk back to center, maybe make one breath here and then walk to the other side again. Just kind of notice as we bring intention to the direction. Hopefully all of us are being really intentional about our breath out in public spaces, that maybe if we're outdoors and we start to get close to somebody else, we either turn our head or maybe slip our mask over our face, things like that. We are going to breathe, but each breath has consequences. Each one is a seed. Come back to center. And then pause here again in our tabletop shape. Let's start to stretch out the backs and legs so we can start to eventually move toward our standing poses. So one foot can come back behind your body and just kind of press into your hands, stretching out that calf muscle, kind of reaching that heel away from the body. Notice what happens if you push harder into the hands and as you sort of release some of the pressure of your hands against the floor. Notice how this changes the stretch and that back leg. So the amount of intention and effort we place into planting these seeds does affect their outcome. Switch legs, other leg reaching back behind the body now, kind of reaching back. Toes can be on the floor, toes can be high if you want to. Notice how pressure into the hands can stretch out that calf muscle. A little release of pressure kind of releases some of that stretch. Then from here, leaving that same leg back, reach the heel up towards your hip height, and maybe your opposite arm can reach forward. See if you can kind of pull in on your navel, lengthening your spine. Feel energy flowing from your heart out through your fingertips and out through either your heel or your toes. On an inhale, kind of grasp with your hand and pull in underneath the body, leg and elbow, knee and elbow. Hold inside, then as you exhale, kind of push that back out. Kind of feel energy pulling in as you inhale and curl under. Exhale, push out and extend. Feel the relationship between what you take into yourself and what you put out from yourself. These are inescapably tied to one another. That the information that we take in, the energy that we take in, is either transmuted and sent back out or just repeated back out. Maybe take one more inhale and exhale, then come back to all fours. Maybe give your shoulder and knee a break, kind of shake everything out for a moment. And then we'll switch sides and find the opposite. So other leg reaching back, heel roughly hip height if we can. And if that's steady for us, reaching the hand out, kind of pulling in on the navel, strengthening. Feel an outward flow from your heart out through your fingertips or toes and heels. On an inhale, coil under, pull that knee and elbow under the body. As you exhale, press it back out. Feel the relationship between what seeds get planted in you and what fruits you send out into the world. Like, are you a better worker, mom, friend, whatever you are, whatever role you're playing when you've slept well, when you've eaten well, when you've taken care of your own needs? These are seeds that we plant, and they have fruits even if we don't recognize them. So feel that relationship between in and out as you move back and forth. Take a couple more of these, start to feel your body warming up. And when you're ready, coming back into your tabletop shape, maybe shaking out the shoulders, kind of give yourself a little break there. And then we'll start to move into our first downward facing dog. So tucking both sets of toes now, pressing up and back. Heels kind of pulling downward, not to touch the floor, but just to make the legs longer. Hips reaching up. Let's shift our focus inward, so chin is kind of towards the chest. Kind of feel the head get heavy. Be active in your arms and legs, kind of lifting your sacrum. Be passive in your head and neck. Just feel the resistance, kind of the hands pushing you back and the feet pushing you forward. On an exhale, let's find a plank position. So knees can be on or off, but feel the pressure against the floor. Open the back of your heart. Then release this effort, bring your body down to the mat. Chin maybe on the floor, chest on the floor. Pause for a moment. On an inhale, lift your heart, arch your back. Take a few breaths if you can. On your exhale, release your body back down, belly and chin on the mat. And from here, we'll move back to downward facing dog. So this is a pretty simple and common vinyasa flow. We're gonna take this flow a couple more times to reiterate the idea that the more we practice something, the more seeds we plant. So on an exhale, shift into your plank. On an exhale, we'll release our belly down to the mat. On an inhale, we'll find some kind of back bend, cobra. On exhale, we're gonna release back down. And then back to downward facing dog. Take a few more of these vinyasas at your own pace. If you wanna pause in each pose for a breath or two, you can. If you want this to be more of a flowing vinyasa, take it at your own pace. But notice that the repeated action is starting to have some effect on your muscles, on your breath. More than if we just did this vinyasa flow once. By repeating the action again and again, we plant the same seeds over and over and over. And if we did this for the rest of our hour, I promise we won't do that. But if we did, imagine how intensely strong our shoulders would be, our abs would be, over and over, planting these seeds of action. Wherever you are in your cycle of vinyasas, maybe finish whatever round you're on, and we'll meet back in downward facing dog. So again, take your time at your own pace. When everybody's back in downward facing dog, take about 2 or 3 more breaths. Feel the action, feel the fruits of that action in your arms and legs and head and neck. And then step both of your feet forward to the top of your mat. Take a nice fold here. So legs and heels and toes are rooted in the ground.
steady all the way up to the sacrum, and then just let the upper body be completely passive and soft. Maybe hands dangle towards the floor or grasp opposite elbows. Be so steady in your legs and feet that your upper body just kind of feels limp and passive. And that even this passive nature, this non-doing, has its fruits. There's an extension of the spine that happens when we let go of our muscles. On an inhale, let's find a flat back and pause there. Now we're active in the head and the heart, still active in the legs. Nothing's really changed there in our foundation. But now we have an active mind and an active heart. Exhale again and soften back into your fold. Note any differences you feel between this passive head and heart. Notice that when we take this shape, we look behind us. On an inhale, flat back again. Notice how this shape at least brings us into the present moment, if not bringing our gaze forward into the future. So an active heart and an active mind as we plant seeds, that intention and awareness plays a role. One more time, soften, passive into your fold. Head and heart are relaxed. Legs are certainly feeling this extended time in our fold. On your next inhale, find your flat back again. Maybe take a breath or two, and then hinge up. Arms can rise with, if you like, to a standing shape. Reach up tall with at least your head, and then relax into your standing shape. Take a moment, feel that the toes and heels still pressed into the mat exactly as they were, but there's a little bit less sensation in the backs of the legs. The hamstrings are kind of breathing again. And just feel the prolonged experience in that fold still has its echo in the backs of the legs. And how in this shape of standing, we could kind of have a soft upper body or an engaged upper body. Maybe try that. Let go and then engage. And just feel which one feels more like an embodiment of intention for you. From here, we might open the eyes and find a focal point. That's optional, but it might help us keep steady as we balance. Shift your weight into your left foot. Let your right foot dangle, or maybe the knee comes to hip height. You can also choose to extend your leg in front of you. But find a steadiness in your standing leg. Be active in pushing into the floor. Notice how that kind of locks you into a little bit more steady place. And you can even kind of shake out your right foot. Just notice the passivity there. And then step back with that right leg. Send your heart straight forward, your hips straight forward, your shoulders and gaze straight forward. Hands can either remain at heart, they can come behind you to your low back, or raise up. On your next exhale, we're going to sink down into the left knee. You can even, from this place, once you feel really rooted and grounded in your feet and legs, you can even maybe twist open to the right and come back to center. You might twist open to the left and come back to center. You might find some movement in your arms. So there's a steadiness in the low body and some flexibility in the upper body. So even when we find that the fruits of our actions have arisen, we have a choice how we respond to that action or that fruition of our action. Take one more breath. Then however you are standing, we're going to straighten that left leg and open the heart, the right toes, and the gaze to the right, arms out at shoulder height. Steady yourself again in your feet, then look forward past your left hand. Exhale back into that left knee, warrior two. From this shape, this stance of the warrior, open your heart. Feel that energy from your heart flowing outward through your fingertips. Feel that outward flow into the past, into the future, and let your heart be open to whatever those seeds will grow into. Be ready to handle it. Be of equal mind to success or failure, like it tells us in the Gita. Feel your back foot pushing you forward
and your front foot kind of pushing you back, kind of find that balance in the middle. Then from here, we're gonna take the help that is offered to us. So turn your left palm up. As you inhale, reach up and back, opening the left side body, and kind of reach that left hand kind of up, almost as if you were kind of drowning. And this is the hand that's gonna reach out for the rope or whatever help is available to us. Keep your heart open here. Take another breath or two. And then we're gonna come into a side angle shape. So this left forearm might come down to the left thigh, left hand might reach the floor or a block here. Right arm is gonna reach up and over. Notice how much flexibility you have and how open your heart is here. Good, nice variations, guys. So you can open the heart, you can kind of close down the heart. Take one more breath. Then start to twist your body so that your hands are framing your left toes. Hands can be on the floor here, or the blocks start to pivot your back foot and your heart and your hips back toward into the future. And then we're gonna try to, just for a couple of breaths, balance on that left foot again. So lifting the right leg, maybe a little, maybe a lot. Feel that strong standing leg that we kind of trained in the first part of our movements. And now it's ready to help hold us here. Then step your right foot next to your left. Find that passive fold in the upper body. Engagement through the legs and feet, that strong foundation. Feel the passiveness of the head and the heart in this shape. And then inhale, engage your head and your heart. Notice that you're looking now into the present or into the future. Hinge all the way up, arms might also rise. Then exhale and just relax in your standing shape. Hands can be by your side or at your heart. Feel the engagement of your legs. That's not different than your fold, but notice how the head and the heart are a little bit more engaged. Maybe soften, feel that. Engage and feel that, feel the difference. Then find your focal point again. Shift your weight into your right foot. Left toes can dangle. Left knee might rise. Left foot might extend forward. Hands can be, again, hips, heart, or by your side. Maybe kind of shake out that left leg. Make sure it's relaxed, and then engage and lift your body with your right foot, pressing into the floor. Feel the constant adjustment that's happening in your strong standing leg. And then step that left foot towards the back of the mat. Engage your head and your heart and your hips forward into the future. Choose a position for your hands, either heart center or raised or supportive behind you. Exhale into that, right knee, warrior one. And then again, notice with the legs firmly established in where they are, notice how much flexibility you have. Just move around a little bit. Move your arms, twist your upper body a little bit. Just kind of feel some flowing experimental motion in the upper body, even as the legs are rooted into their shape. So this is the outcome, right? We're stuck in it, it happened, the seeds were planted, and this is what we got. But within that shape, how much flexibility do you have? Good. On your next inhale, we're gonna straighten the right leg, twisting your heart, your left toes, and your gaze toward the left side of your mat. Open up your hands wide again at shoulder height. Sink back into the right knee. Look forward over your right hand. See into the future. Now turn just your head. Look back past your left hand in the past. Now come back to the future, looking forward over the right hand. Open your heart to whatever comes. Be so confident and intentional about the seeds flowing outward from your heart that you're open to receiving whatever fruits come from those seeds. That's a pretty high level of confidence. That is the warrior. Pausing here for a couple more breaths. Then we're going to turn to reach for that help. Again, so right palm is going to turn upward. Inhale, reach up and back, kind of as if to reach for that rope or that help or that wisdom that's just above our heads. That clarity that comes from attuning the seeds that we plant to the wisdom of the divine. Kind of reach for that help for another couple of breaths. Receive whatever you can, and from here we're going to kind of grasp that and pull it down to find our side angle. So right forearm on the right
thigh, or perhaps we come down to the floor or a block here. Left arm reaches up and into the future. So we took this wisdom from our past in Warrior Two, and we're now reaching it forward into the future. Bringing intention and experience and awareness into all of our future actions. Another couple of breaths here. And then we're going to turn the heart and the back foot. We're going to pivot everything to face the front of the mat again as we frame the right toes. Hands can be again here on blocks or the mat. And we're going to try to just lift back to standing on that right leg again. So maybe the left toes are just a little off the mat. Maybe they're really high. But feel the strength of your standing leg. Now that we've stood on that leg, we know what to expect and how to balance. It's stronger and ready for it. When you're ready, step that left foot next to the right again. Find that passive upper body and engaged legs and feet, keeping us steady. When we practice engagement with our head and our hearts, even when we disengage our heads and hearts temporarily, we have a habit formed that keeps us intentional. Inhale, find your flat back, take a couple of breaths. Notice where your gaze is. Maybe it's straight down in the present moment. Maybe it's slightly forward into the future. Exhale, fold again. Get passive in the head and the heart. Where is your gaze? It's right behind you. Inhale, engage. Notice the present moment or maybe slightly into the future. Bring that awareness and intention. Exhale, soften again. Passive in the head and heart, looking into the past. When we are not engaged, we just keep repeating the same patterns. We keep planting the same seeds and getting the same results. Inhale, get intentional. Notice the present moment with awareness. Maybe even lift the chin a little away from the chest to look slightly into the future. Now inhale and hinge all the way up again. Reach up maybe. And then relax into your neutral stance. Feel the strength of your legs, the alignment of your head and your heart and your body, keeping us aware and engaging our intention. Let's bend at the knees to come back down to a seated shape in the body. We're going to take some of these similar movements that we did standing. We're going to bring them to a seated context. But notice how we will feel some of the same things in the body, ideally. That's what we're aiming for. I'm going to use a little bit of cushion underneath the backs of my knees, because I've been riding my bike a lot, and my hammies are tight. So we're going to come with the legs straight out in front of us. This is basically, if we have that tall, intentional seat, this is that half flat back that we've been finding, right? And when we sit like this, we see straight into the future. We can also drop just the chin, so the heart is still lifted, dropping just the chin in towards the chest, and now we're in the present moment. We are self-reflecting inward, not on the past, not on the future, but in this present moment, what's happening within us. Then we could also take this motion and become more passive in both the head and the heart. Let gravity pull your chin deeper towards your chest. Let gravity pull your heart down towards your thighs. Maybe it's just a little, maybe it's a lot, but let go of the whole upper body. Maybe we can stay active in the feet and legs, but release. And again, notice exactly where our direction is. If we can see anything at all, we see behind us. So this passive head, passive heart, not bringing intention and awareness into our seeds, leaves us stuck in a pattern of past, past, past. Inhale and start to lift just your torso. Chin stays in towards the chest, but start to engage and align your tailbone up to your heart. And see this present moment, see the self-reflection of recognizing our own responsibility for the seeds that we put out. Then inhale and lift your chin away from your chest. Reach the crown of your head straight up. Look forward into your future. Bring that intention of self-awareness into how each of our actions affects not just ourselves, but expands outward in every direction.
Keep your left leg extended. Start to bend at your right knee. Sole of the foot can come to the floor. We have some options about whether or not we bring the right foot inside the left thigh or maybe cross over the left leg to find a position like that. From here, we're going to inhale and lift and lengthen. So we're looking straight forward. We see the future of where our seeds are going to plant into the future, but then what we also need to accept is that it doesn't affect just us. So from here, we're going to turn our hearts towards the right side. Turn your gaze to the right side. Right arm might come behind you. Left hand might interact with that knee in some way to help open you, get as much of a view to this side as you can. Maybe turn the head side to side or shift the eyes side to side. Notice how much you can see when we turn away from the immediate outcome and start to see how these seeds might change what was not previously in our awareness. Yoga holds the truth that we are all one, so there is no such thing as an isolated incident. Any seed that is planted affects everything. Start to nice and slow untwist your body and face forward again. Bring some of that knowledge of that periphery into the future and then switch your legs. So right leg is extended, left knee is bent, sole of the foot is on the floor, either inside or outside the right knee. Be tall and aware, look straight into the future. See what you think the outcome is going to be, and then start to twist your heart open to the left. Right hand might interact with that left knee in some way, left arm can support that lengthening, and then again, shift your gaze with your head and maybe just your eyes. Notice how much you can see around your body in this new shape. Start to recognize how our actions affect not only ourselves, but ripple out in every direction. Take another couple of breaths to experience this. Maybe we find some stillness, something to focus on. Maybe we still continue to scan the environment around us in all directions. But when you are ready, release your twist back to facing forward. Stretch out both legs again one more time. Be intentional. Find that half flat back. So legs are engaged, torso is engaged. We're looking straight ahead. We see the future. Then drop your head or chin down to your chest. Look into your own heart. Then start to find that more passive head and heart, kind of folding over your legs. Maybe the legs are still active. And just pause, looking inward. What responsibility do we have to ourselves? What responsibility do we have to others? Knowing that every action, including inaction, is a seed. What kinds of seeds do we want to plant? What future do we want for ourselves and others? Let your heart lift you back up to seated. Chin is still in towards the chest. Take one more look into your own heart. Start to be responsible for the self and how that affects others. Then look again forward into the future. See if your gaze has shifted in any way. So we've practiced this seated place that we're in now through standing. We've also practiced this with the legs active and the torso engaged here, this intention in the head and the heart. We're going to find the same thing on our back. So if you have any props on your mat, you might set those to the side. Let's come all the way down to the spine. So sacrum, shoulders, and back of the head on the mat. Now what we have, let's bring, once we've kind of got ourselves settled where the spine feels long and the whole back body is supported, bring your knees to bend and extend your legs up towards the ceiling. Here we are again in our flat back fold. Arms are in a different place. The effort now is a little bit more in the legs and feet. The upper body is perfectly aligned with no effort at all. We've practiced it so many times, but now it's effortless. Start to bend at your knees again. Just let your knees fall softly and effortlessly in towards your chest. Notice if your sacrum is starting to rise away from the floor. Just kind of tilt your pelvis so that it is rooted down into the floor. Arms can be some kind of wide, roughly shoulder height, elbows straight or bent. And just let your knees start to make a circle on the floor. Feel all the directions that our energy could go, as if the knees were kind of pointing the way. Feel how your body is connected to the floor no matter which direction your knees fall. And then eventually choose a direction, right or left, and let your knees come all the way to the mat, or all the way to the floor. Engage both shoulders to be rooted. Head can, just like we did in our seated twist, can turn from side to side, just kind of noticing what is in our field of vision here, what can we explore, how far out does this action go, how far out does it ripple. And also notice the open heart, recalling that warrior spirit we found in Warrior 2, that same open heart, ready to accept the fruits of our actions with honesty, with self-responsibility, with bravery, and openness. Take several more breaths here in this shape. Feel free as you settle into it a little bit to make some adjustments. Maybe as you stay in this shape, there's more tension that can be released. Maybe as you stay in this shape, there's some kind of engagement to adjust the pose a little bit. So we can trust in knowing that every action is a seed. Now we want to decide how much engagement with that do we want to have, and how much openness of heart do we want to have with that. Trusting, open, self-responsible, and aware. Take about 5 more breaths, nice and slow. Really stay with this level of awareness and intention in your twist. And come back when you're ready. When you've taken all those breaths, when you're ready. Start to flow back into the center. And again, maybe experiment with which direction your knees are going. Just kind of notice, where do I want to send these seeds? What direction do I want to be in? And then when you're ready, take the twist on the other side. Sometimes we plant the same seed in many different places in our lives. Maybe we plant the seed of compassion in our family. We plant the seed of compassion with our coworkers. We plant the seed of compassion with a stranger. We plant the seed of compassion in a relationship with someone we don't necessarily enjoy their company. That same seed will have a different effect depending on where it's planted. It will grow differently. But it's still an intentional seed. Another part of this responsibility and intention is to notice where other people's seeds have been planted in our own lives. And we get to decide which ones of those seeds we weed out and which ones we cultivate and tend to. The people that lift you up, cultivate those seeds in your garden, the ones they planted for you. Somebody plants seeds that are not healthy for you, weed them out. Just simply weed them out. Find your way back to the peacefulness of steadiness. Notice how in this twist, again, we have that steadiness. The whole body is supported by the earth. The heart is open. We are self-responsible. we turn our gaze in maybe several different directions to notice where these seeds, how far out do their effects go as they fruit. Way beyond the self. The heart is open to each fruit as it arises, to accept it with bravery, the way that a warrior would. Take a few more rounds of breath in your twist on this side. Maybe start to notice again how the inhale and exhale create one another. Maybe start to feel how those inhales and exhales cannot be separated from one another. They are infused as one act of breathing. So the seeds and the fruits are one act of karma. Feel how it is your very nature to be a breathing thing. It is your very nature to play into this law of karma. And just like our breath, we can allow it to happen passively, or we can be really intentional about our breath. We can also be so intentional about our breath during practice sessions that our breath behaves differently even in its natural state. Think about that. Take your last few breaths in your twist. And then again, when you're ready, when the moment is right, start to find your way back to center in your twist. Notice if there are any other movements that your body would like to take, like a bridge pose or a happy baby shape. Maybe there's some rolling around on the low back or against the length of the spine that would feel really good to you. Maybe the legs need to be extended or pulled in towards the chest. Just kind of notice with awareness what needs to happen next. So again, remember that there is no such thing as good karma or bad karma. There is simply karma, seeds and fruits. We can be intentional about what we plant and where, and what seeds we cultivate and what seeds we simply acknowledge and move on from. There are the seeds that we plant that affect more than just ourselves, and there are the seeds that others have planted that affect more than just themselves and have maybe begun to affect us or other people that we love. Acknowledge the inevitability of all of this. And then start to see if it's comfortable for you to rest in the fruits of your actions. Are you the warrior that is so aware of your own actions? Your heart is so open to receiving the fruits of your actions just as it naturally flows? See if it's easy for you to now relax all of your efforts, knowing that the efforts that you have made have been repeated enough that that is now your natural state, is that awareness, that intention. Remember the moment of reaching up and out for that help, allowing yourself to be guided by that divine wisdom, that supreme consciousness. Allowing your actions to be guided by this force for the benefit of yourself and all others. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all instruments of this cycle of action and consequence. And bringing our intention and awareness, and remembering to ask for that guidance when we need it. Let your breath be in its natural state and just observe it. Let your body be fully relaxed and just observe the lingering sensations from our active practice now in this more inactive, relaxed moment. stillness. And recognize the ever-present motion of your breath, the drawing in and the pressing out of air. Just as we receive the fruits of all collective action and contribute our own seeds to that same collective action. In this moment, simply stop and be inactive and aware. Rest in that pure awareness. This mantra, Punarapi Jananam, again and again, birth. Punarapi Maranam, again and again, death. Punarapi Janani, Jatare Shayana, again and again, lying in the womb of the mother. We recognize the patterns, the repeated patterns that we talked about over and over again, adding ideally to our awareness so that we might plant seeds with intention. We might plant seeds with that awareness in mind, seeing beyond ourselves, seeing beyond our own lifetime into the wholeness of which we are a part. Feel that natural flow of your breath, and then begin to bring some intention into your natural state of breathing. Maybe extend your exhale. Maybe be more open and receiving with your inhale. Bring awareness and intention to your natural flow of action. Your very existence and aliveness makes you a part of this karmic system. Be intentional and aware of the seeds of your thoughts, your words, and your actions. With that level of awareness in your breath, start to find some small action in the body, fingertips or toes. Maybe head turns or the knees move. Find some action, but do so with intention. Taking your time, start to feel that outward flow of energy, the seeds that are coming from you into that collective soil. And maybe embody that in some way, stretching out or opening, or however you want to take that embodiment of that outward flow of energy of what you are contributing via seeds of thoughts, words, and deeds. What are you contributing to that collective soil? And let your gears shift a little bit into that receiving mode. What are you receiving from that collective soil of karma, of all of us together? Find a way to embody that inward flow. Maybe we stay open, if that's our position. And then we'll return to even more intentional action by taking our time to arrive back in that upright seat. Move as slowly as you need to. Bring as much awareness to this transition from rest into an intentional seat. Root yourself down. Establish yourself in that constant vigilance, that awareness. Let that be your natural state. Practice awareness so often that you only really notice when you're not being aware, when that is the exception to the rule. Once you're in that established place, open up your heart, kind of lift and elevate the mind, and drop the chin back down again into the chest. Start to look within yourself. Find your own responsibility for the seeds that you plant, and your own responsibility to how you respond to the fruits of collective action. From this place, bring palms together and draw that oneness into your heart, recognizing that your actions are not isolated to consequences that only you participate in. And for your ability to respond to the collective action of the whole world with kindness, with compassion, with that same awareness and intention. We close our practice with a prayer of service, indicating that we acknowledge our responsibility for self and for all, And by bringing goodness to ourselves and all as one act, lokaha samastaha, sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free, and may our actions contribute to that freedom. Namaste.